Hello and welcome to Eye on South Asia. I'm Bhavna Vanan.
And I'm Sanjiv Pandya.
Every week we'll discuss the biggest stories and events in the South Asian community. All right, let's move on to our top stories.
That's right. This is really a top story. And let's just, keep it. This is going to be the last story as far as a last presidential election concerns.
Okay. So President Obama swore in for the second time as president this week.
Actually, he got sworn in twice. Did you know that?
Yeah, he swore in on Sunday and then Monday.
Sunday and Monday.
Right.
Sunday and Monday.
Sunday was the private ceremony, and then Monday was for the public.
Right. And he's only the second president in history to be sworn 4 times during presidency. In these 2 terms, he was sworn to 4 times, because 2009 he was also sworn twice,
right?
Because Chief Justice had made some kind of mistake in giving oath to President Barack Obama.
So they had to repeat it again just to make sure.
In the White House. And then this time in 2013 he was sworn on Sunday because of constitutional thing. It has to be on January 20th, but because January 21st rather, because it was a Sunday, he was sworn in White House, and then next day was a big ceremony.
Yeah, they wanted to make sure that as many people would attend, right. And it just so happened that only about 700,000 people came, as opposed to 1.8 million people, which was a record 4 years ago. So this is about half the number.
Because it was cold.
That's also a good point.
It was cold on that day.
Right.
That's right.
But this was symbolically on Martin Luther King Day, of course. And coming back to Obama and his oath, he actually, when he was making his speech, he was talking a lot more about specific things that he would do in his second term. He talked about reducing the federal deficit, revamping the tax code, and all those things. And so far the Indian American community, as we've discussed in the past couple of shows regarding the inauguration, has been very happy about this event.
Right. Some 84% Indian Americans voted for Barack Obama. Yes. And about 77% Asian Americans voted for Barack Obama.
Yeah.
But this is a survey of only a few thousand people,
It was
right?
about 9,000 people,
right.
And this was conducted by the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, or ALDEF, if you want to shorten it. But yeah, it was interesting. Most of the Asian American groups that they broke out actually voted overwhelmingly, 80 to 90% for Obama. The only groups that slightly leaned toward Republicans were Vietnamese and Filipino Americans.
Okay.
Yeah, which
Very
was
good.
kind of interesting.
And on Obama, we can add one more note, that Obama's second half-sister, who actually visited Indian American Community Ball.
Yes, the Indiaspora Ball,
Indiaspora Ball, we talked about that about a week or 2 ago. And she was happy to be there, and she made a remark saying Indian Americans are tremendously important, and we hope they would be increasingly visible, not only in the government, but also in all parts of American life. Right. So President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama couldn't go there, but at least his second half-sister visited Indiaspora Ball.
Right, and that was a very honorable event, and it was a great honor to have her there as well.
Right.
So on the note of celebration, India's Republic Day is this week, January 26th, and one of the first celebrations of this was at the NASDAQ market site in Times Square, where the Consul General of India, Prabhu Dayal, rang the opening bell.
I think that's historically that he's been doing it, since last several years. On the 15th of August, on India's Independence Day, and 26th January, India's Republic Day, Consul General visits NASDAQ to ring the bell. Right.
And I'm guessing there are a whole lot of Republic Day celebrations, including those from FIA this year. They do it every year.
That's happening on December 2nd, I think.
Right.
But we'll basically, bring all the update next week in our next week's episode.
Right. So now that the election season is over, we're hearing a lot more on policy from different lawmakers. In California, we actually had the Attorney General Kamala Harris. She has partnered with her state's lawmakers to overturn a 140-year-old law, or otherwise called a loophole.
Right.
It's a very strange loophole.
Exactly, I was going to say, it's a strange law. I've never heard of that.
This law says that a rapist who impersonates someone is guilty of rape only if the victim was married.
Correct.
And the rapist pretended to impersonate their spouse.
Yes.
Which is a very specific case, but you know, it's basically designed to protect only married women in this case who have gone through rape. And you know, Kamala Harris went on CNN to talk about this law. She said that rape is rape no matter what, you know, who the victim is, who the rapist is. And of course, it's a very archaic law. It was passed in 1872.
That's right. That makes 141-year-old law, and no one actually till now brought this to attention to change it. And
right.
It is, I think, a very strange law considering it. But now Kamala Harris thinks that, you know, she will be able to get support from all legislators, and hopefully, you know, court will be able to change the law. We'll see what happens.
Well, one of the reasons why the lawmakers there didn't change the law is because California's prisons are very overcrowded.
Yes.
Well, that's what they say all the time, you know. I mean, there are probably a lot of people in there that, you know, shouldn't be. But the basic thing is the law doesn't coincide with modern law.
Correct.
So, yeah, they're working to overturn this law.
Normally, we have our Manhattan District Attorney, Preet Bharara, in the news, but this time we have California District Attorney, Kamala Harris, in the news.
Yeah, so, she's taken a center stage to cover this issue.
That's right.
So back to Washington, we have Reliance.
Speaking of the center stage,
yes, this Reliance Industries, headed by
Mukesh Ambani.
Yes,
that's right.
He is working now to end their lobbying activities with U.S. lawmakers after they had spent over $2 million over the last 4 years.
4 years, right.
And what they're doing this for is basically to bring in U.S. business into the Indian market.
To bring in U.S. business, and actually what they are trying to do is that gain access to politicians and,
exactly.
and a congressman, in order to, I guess, I would say that maybe, you know, make laws a little bit better between India and America for business purpose. It's all for a business purpose.
Right.
And now Mukesh Ambani has decided to terminate the contract. So far they have paid almost $2 million to a local firm, Barber Griffith and Rogers LLC in Washington. So far they have paid almost $2 million for lobbying. And now Mr. Ambani says that there is no purpose of spending this money in lobbying because nothing productive has come out of it.
Exactly, and the firm that you just mentioned is also the lobbyist for the Indian government.
Yes.
And one other very large software firm.
That's right.
That they talked about. But as of January 18th, Ambani filed a disclosure. They're actually required to file in all their lobbying activities through their disclosures, saying that he will end lobbying activities this month.
Speaking of Indian government, this says here Indian government has paid its lobbyists close to $5 million since September 2005, basically $180,000 every quarter since September 2005.
Right. At the same time, we do have U.S. companies lobbying to gain access to the Indian market.
That's right.
And that has been criticized heavily. Of course, we have corporations as big as Walmart and stuff, you know, that this is essentially how they do it. They go into the Indian market by lobbying because they get access to the politicians. And one of the biggest reasons is obviously the consumer market in India is the largest in the world. U.S. companies are literally drooling over the idea of the Indian consumer. You know, they have a lot to spend.
But again, we don't know the exact reason why Mukesh Ambani of Reliance Industries decided to terminate this lobby fees and lobbyist activities. We really don't know the real reason behind it. All he is saying is that there hasn't been any lobbying issue activity. So, you know, there's no point in spending more money. That is the only reason given out. But there could be more to it in between the lines if one were to understand it.
Surely, yeah. There has been, like I said, controversy with the reverse happening. So probably, you know, there are fewer Indian companies doing that for U.S. business. But, you know, there must have been some controversy there as well.
And speaking of the controversy, I think this is a very important story when it came to us, and when I read it, I'm like, yeah, this is what we actually need. GOPIO, Global Organization of People of Indian Origin. That organization been doing, I would say, addressing NRI communities and their issues, and trying to do the best. NRIs, non-resident Indians, their problems and their issues while they're living overseas, and the problems in India.
Mm-hmm.
So at their 24th convention at Pravasi Bharatiya Divas in Kochi, they brought it to this attention, and this is a problem which is known to many families, many NRIs, not only in USA, but I would say all over the world. When they leave overseas, in no matter what country it is, and when they have properties in India, usually what happens is that their family members, their own family members, take away properties by falsifying documents or by forgery, by fraud, and then most of the time it's the family members taking away properties. And especially the most alarming thing is women. When women claim to have a right on their ancestral properties, they usually are not allowed, and they usually don't get their share.
They're usually given a lot less because the family ends up deciding how it's distributed. And like you said, the relatives back in India, they have access to this land, they have access to all the local authorities and documents and all of those things.
Yes,
So to address this issue, of course, GOPIO has proposed several solutions. At their convention, they actually urged the union government to set up fast-track courts exclusively to deal with this issue.
If this resolution gets approved, which is proposed by GOPIO, I'm telling you that, and for the viewers of our show, Eye on South Asia, and everybody else, NRI community will be happy. They'll be thrilled. This will be a great news for them.
Right. It's an excellent solution, I think. And if it's implemented properly, it should be a huge success.
Yep.
So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back on Eye on South Asia.